Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast, the sister brand of Subtle Asian Real Estate, where our mission is to get more people that look like us participating in the real estate industry. We invite experts to not just talk about real estate, but also about our unique identity as Asian women and the cultural values that shape who we are as investors. I'm Anita Wong.
And I'm Tiffany Lee. We're both real estate agents and investors based in the Bay Area and New York City. Whether you're a seasoned real estate pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone here. So pour yourself a glass of wine or boba tea and join us as we celebrate the achievements and unleash the untapped potential of AAPI women in the real estate industry.
Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast.
Now let's get on with the show. But first, a word from one of our fabulous sponsors. Learn how to invest in commercial real estate the right way. No fluff, just the truth. Retired software engineer turned real estate syndicator Tony LIN is a managing partner of Link Multifamily, where he helps folks invest passively while also teaching aspiring operators the ins and outs of the commercial multifamily space. Here's what one potential investor had to say about Tony's commercial real estate mentorship. Last year, I shadowed Tony on his latest acquisition, a 111-unit Class A property in Dallas, where he showed us exactly how he intended to execute his business plan. It was a great educational experience. Tony Lynn and the Link Multifamily team love to share their recipe for success and empower you to do the same. To get in touch with Tony and his team, visit linkmultifamily.com. That's Link, L-I-N-K, multi, M-U-L-T-I, family, F-A-M-I-L-Y.com. Now on to the show. Hello. Welcome, Pod Squad, to another episode of the SARE Ladies podcast. I'm Tiffany Lee, and this is my co-host, Anita Wong. We're so excited today because we have the opportunity to have Tony Lin, CEO of Link Multifamily, on our pod today. Say hello, Tony.
Hi, everybody.
I like how take 3, he got rid of the dad joke. Bring the dad joke back.
You still want that? Okay, I was gonna go.
No, we're gonna go. We'll try that again. Say hello, Tony. It's okay. All right, so guys, just for those of you listening in, we this is our take 3 because we ran into some tech issues before. But when we told Tony to say hello the first time, he was just like, "Hello, Tony." We're like, "Say hello, Tony," and he was like, "Hello, Tony."
Hello, Tony.
Ultimate dad joke right here. It took me a while to get, but it was funny. We had the pleasure of having Tony Lin as one of our sponsors on the SARE Ladies Dallas field trip. And I think I speak for everyone. Tony's presentation was definitely one of my favorites because not only was it educational, but there was not a dry eye in the room. We won't say too much about that though, because we don't want to spoil today's podcast. What did you think about that, the presentation, Anita?
I love that presentation so much, Tony. Seriously.
Thank you.
So it was amazing. So Tony, not only does he have an impressive real estate portfolio totaling 748 units and 86 million net. Is that the correct number, Tony?
It's
it's higher now. So
Yeah.
we're gonna say plus
Yeah.
at the end of that number. 748 units plus and 86 million net plus. Now Tony is so that's great because you recently just closed on another deal, right?
Yeah, so we bought another Class A 111 units, and that one was like about $19 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Tony. Congratulations. You are absolutely nonstop. And fun fact about he is actually also from my hometown of Fremont, California. Now, actually, the third guest from that city that's been on this podcast, Sam Fong, Stella Han, and then now Tony Lin, who apparently all went to the same high school a decade apart from each other.
We're all nerds.
What I love about Tony, though, that totally resonates with me is that he just tells it like it is. I'm not sure if it's about being an Asian person from the Bay Area kind of thing, but I've always admired your no BS approach to real estate. And, and if you've been in real estate long enough, there's a lot of fluff out there. So today we're going to be talking about just that. We're going to be giving you an raw, unfiltered Tony opinion about multifamily syndication culture and what to expect from deal making. And then we'll talk about his motivation to real estate and why he founded Linfinity, his education platform. So let's get into it.
It's going to be a great episode. And I'm going to add to what Anita just said about the no BS approach. We're not here to it's going to be no BS because it's like raw, unfiltered information. So Tony is not getting canceled today. The gurus are those fake gurus are getting canceled today. So let's jump into the first question.
We'll ruffle a few feathers.
Yes, we will be ruffling. That's what we're oh man, what's that word where you just like love drama? We love drama on the show. So there we go. So Tony, tell us about how you got into real estate and why you chose multifamily syndications.
Yeah, so I think, my background is in software, in tech. So that keeps me really busy in the office, just sitting in front of a desk, right? But I'm more of a free spirit guy. I want to be out there. I want to actually touch things and, feel the bricks and everything. But so even while I was doing my tech job, I always wanted to invest in real estate on the side, right? But, so I think I was lucky enough during my career that a couple of my companies went public. So I got my first pot of cash. And then I actually started investing in China. Okay, so in Beijing, in other parts of China, just buying, the single flats where over there it's actually kind of interesting. You don't have to buy a fully furnished house, right? It's literally just 4 cement walls, and then, you have your entire building laid out. So I was investing in those flats, and we will hold them on to, anywhere from 5 to 8 years. And they're actually extremely profitable, as you can imagine. But China's policy changes really, really fast, right? So super unstable. I'm not that type of person who likes to speculate. So sold all of our assets in China and then moved the funds back to the US, right? So was looking for the next investment opportunity. Went to a lot of different meetups in the Bay Area to kind of check out what other people are investing in. So there's people doing Airbnb, doing flips. There's people trading mortgage notes. There's people doing pot, selling land so that you can do pot. So you can, as you can imagine, if you have money, there's all kinds of investment options, right? But for me, I think I still wanted, for me, I want something that's downturn resistant because I'm older than everybody here, and I went through a few recessions and kind of see that the most important thing is to preserve your capital, right? Because if you lose your original investment, it would take you a lot, doubling your money just to get back to where you were, right? But if you're able to preserve your capital, even if it grows a little bit slower, it expands much faster in the future. So like what's commonly said, right? Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, refer to rule number 1, right? So of course we can't lose money, but we should endeavor to try to not lose as much money, right? So that kind of got me into investing out of state because it's hard to cash flow in California. So in Texas, that was very easy to do, right? So and then I met this great Cantonese couple who actually bought up 72 single-family homes in Texas.
Wow.
Okay. And then they quickly realized that, oh my God, instead of trying to manage 72 single-family homes, I should just buy one apartment of 100 units, right? That's so much easier. Mm-hmm. So, and then I kind of looked at it and made sense to me, being an engineer, it's a business plan. It's more, a business plan that can be executed with numbers, that are real world numbers, right? So I like the more certainty of that. So I started investing more and more into multifamily because, I was looking for something that's downturn resistant. And as we all know, when you lose your home, when you lose your, super expensive Class A apartments, you need an affordable apartment to go into. So those tend to be full during downturns.
That was so interesting. You never mentioned that you first invested in China. That was a new learning for us.
Yeah.
And what's funny, guys? Tony mentioned that he's much older than us. When Tony was investing in China, was it you mentioned like people are investing in weed now? Was it the opium market that you were investing in at your age? That remember when opium was hot in China? Did you jump on that?
I think it was before that. You know?
It was a joke.
I forgot which dynasty it was, but
you were there, right? That's how old you are. You remember?
I have amazing hair for that time.
You're like rubbing your beard.
Exactly.
Like, all right. So I just had to make a joke there because I thought that was silly. But that was really great insight. So in learning with everything that you know now, if you could give your younger self advice on something in that investment market, like I'm sure you didn't hop on that opium trend when it was hot, like, but your younger self, like rewind back again, kidding. What would you tell yourself? What is something you thought you knew was reality, but in fact was very different?
Yeah, I would say actually probably two things, right? One is start eating ramen noodles really early and save up every penny to buy real estate. Okay, so if I was younger, I would know better, you know, than to buy the coolest gadget and you know, do all that kind of stuff. But I think the other thing is to quickly realize that you want to get to scale as fast as possible. Okay, so I think one of my good friends taught me very early on that it is actually very, very hard to run something like a 30 unit or 20 unit because, you know what, at that level, you can't really afford professional management to help you run these with on-site staff, right? So guess what? You know, if you thought that was going to be a passive income, you just took on a second job, okay? You're going to be running that full time because you can't afford other people to run it for you, right? And you wouldn't trust the people in that range. So, you know, you want to get to a larger scale where you can have people running it for you. You can have people, you can buy things cheaper. The loans are cheaper, and you know, all your materials or your renovation is simpler. Okay, so believe it or not, I mean, if you think about it, once you have things running the way they should be, to run a 100 unit is the same amount of work as running a 400 unit. Okay, you're working with just a property management company, right? So when you get to that scale, things come much more efficient. So I would try to, you know, I would tell myself, go learn it, and then see how I can build up my network of people to allow me to short circuit and, you know, jump past it and then get to a large scale as quickly as possible.
I love that. It's like, and because you come from an engineering background, it's like, find the efficiency, right? That's engineering 101. So is this impressive? I know you guys went to school in the Bay Area, all went to the same Bay Area school, but I went to an engineering college, and people are very surprised when they find, I went to Polytech when it was still Polytech.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's a plug for myself. But that's an interesting segue, right? Because a lot of these newcomer investors, they go into real estate investing hearing key like buzzwords like, oh, it's passive income, or it's XYZ from all these personalities online that just have the loudest voices, right? But they're not putting a very accurate message out there. So then when they're in the thick of it, like you said, it becomes a second job. And when it becomes a second job, it's not so passive anymore, right? So that leads us to our next question. Can you tell us a bit about your stance on being anti-guru groups?
Yeah, so I'm not anti-guru in the sense that I don't believe they have good contents or something. I think they are a great way for beginners to start, right? They provide a lot of good courses that's already available. They provide a great network of people, so you can meet fellow-minded people that encourage you on, right? And then that can really help you in the future. Like, oh, I don't know, like who's a really good vendor for fixing a pool leak, you know? In that larger group of people, you're going to find a lot of resource, right? So I think guru groups are good for that. What I usually don't like about guru group is once you go in there and then you pay 20 grand or 25 grand of tuition, right? You're now trying to make that money back, okay? And then you're hearing all these success stories about like, hey, this guy bought a property, this guy bought a property. And you're going like, well, I paid the same 25 grand. How come I'm not getting a deal? And then you're under this peer pressure now to perform. It's like high school over again, right? It's like, and then you go like, okay, I need to get into any deal that I see coming up. I want to be a GP as well, right? I don't want to be an LP anymore. I want to be a GP. And then you'll partner up with the first person that offers you an opportunity. You'll jump into a first deal that you're invited into, right? Because you're just so eager to get that first deal. However, that's where I see a lot of my friends, the people that I know, get into trouble. Because, nowadays, in order to fund a large deal, you could end up joining a group of 6 or 7 different sponsors. Okay, so in English we call it there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? In Chinese we said there's too many butts around. Okay.
How do you say it in Chinese? Do you speak Cantonese or Mandarin? You
Mandarin.
can be our first Mandarins. All right, let's hear the Mandarin. Say the quote in Mandarin.
So the quote in Mandarin is 人多屁股乱. When there's too many people, it's a mess of buns.
The Chinese one is way better than the English one.
Was it Confucius? Did he say that?
But yeah, so usually when you have too many people, it's a conflict of everybody wants to be the decision maker, right? And then there's a lot of different personalities clashing, and then everybody wants to make a name for themselves, and then a lot of times it's the lead sponsor who brings on the sponsors to raise money for them, and after they get your list of investors, you're useless to me. Your use is done. They'll throw you away. And then so you constantly see on every new deal, it's like another group of 7 or 8 people. Next deal, another group of 7 or 8 people. They just go around and, abuse people. So I think Nelson actually also touched on this. Some people say that, hey, I'm a GP on this many deals. It's like, okay, but are you still the same? Are you still GP with the same people? So.
Right. Yeah, I think I saw that thread too, and you added that you want to see a track record with the same GPs executing and succeeding together, because that's a more meaningful statistic to you than someone who's been scattered all over the place in different projects with different teams, right? So I think it was you who said that.
Because that's what the banks want. In fact, if you look at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they usually don't want to see more than 4 or 5 people that's on the loan. Okay, it's like, and they want to see the same established group, because after we do a large amount of deals with them, like $100 million in loans, we get preferred status, and then we actually get cheaper rate. But if you're constantly changing groups, and they're like, okay, are we lending to the same people that's been performing for us before? So in this industry, the credibility goes a long way. So, but if you're constantly switching it up, they don't know who they're dealing with.
Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier. We can edit this out, Tony. You wanted to talk about the Linfinity group, or no? We're not going to talk about that.
We can talk about it. I mean, we just don't have to put it as an ad spot to promote it.
Okay, understood. So Tony has this great educational, very now closed educational seminar, very exclusive.
No.
I have to add the disclaimer that it's closed now, so people don't try to sign up, because it's been very overwhelming, right? Tony, it's been so successful. He offers free education. So there is no $25,000 tuition to get into this, which is why I think it's so popular. But I think what's also great is that Tony is doing this out of the goodness of his heart, right? As we talked a little bit about it before the show, you want to turn your students eventually into sponsors, right? And sponsors that know what they're doing. So why don't you expand more, Tony, on your mission there?
Yeah, I think I never joined a Google program, so how did I learn everything that I did, right? So it really came through networking, talking with people, finding some people who are really conservative like me and have like-mindedness, right? So, and those people were very generous in sharing all kinds of information, right? So I went with them on due diligence, met the property management companies, met the lenders, met the brokers that sold the deals, and then we basically meet up like every other week in Pete's, that's their office. So we actually go to Pete's and then we just chat, right? And then so I learned so much, and they never asked for anything back. So I think I had a lot of people help me along the way, and this is like my way of giving back, right? Because I think, I'm very jealous of the young people, because if I knew the kind of stuff that I knew 20 years ago, I would be a complete kick-ass, right? So I want you guys to be kick-asses, right? Whereas, if you guys learn like how to do this, how to scale, you guys can develop into really good partnerships, right? So maybe, from all the people that I work with, there will be people that turn out to be excellent sponsors, and I would love opportunities to work with them, right? And then also in the future, maybe if I talk to you well enough and then you start your own syndication, maybe one day you'll be buying my property. So hey, I'm creating my downline. No, I'm just kidding. But
that's funny. Wait, that reminds me of this thing. It's like you only advance by standing on the back of giants, right? So, or some quote like that. And it's like, Tony walks so we could run. Tony, off the top of your head, is there a Chinese proverb that's similar in line to that?
No, I think I exhausted my
all your Chinese proverbs. So wise. Having older guests on the show. Just drop the wisdom on us. All right, I'll stop making jokes about your age, but like you called it out, now it's stuck in my head.
I'm perfectly fine. No, I think the thing is like, I will harp on the age thing because I enjoy it. Okay, so but I think ageism has good and bad thing. I think once you get to my age, it's less about like how much money you make, and also more about like, okay, what can you actually pass down and share with other people, right? It's more longer lasting. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is like, I think I learned just as much from people who are younger than me. So working with my team, and they're showing me like, oh, okay, we're doing this to pull data, we're looking at live data over here. Hey, we use Notion.io to get organized, and then I'm looking. It's a fire hose of information that because the younger generation is trying out, right? And it is helping me to make my process and my overall management more efficient. So I think it goes both ways. Now, if I just stick and continue to work with people my age doing the same way of doing things, I don't think we could have real breakthroughs. So I'm constantly trying to improve myself as well.
I love that, because real estate is such a track record thing, and it's almost like people respect in the real estate industry, people respect the opinions of people who are older, right? And that has bitten me in the ass so many times, because like I can tell people that I've been in the industry for 10 years and they're like, well, you look like you're 12. And I'm like, sorry. So I do appreciate that sentiment that you put out there, that there is this beautiful symbiotic relationship between elders and the youngins, and making a business move forward and sing and evolve, right? And that's a great almost like an analogy of like, how do we show up Asian in our business, right? It's respect your elders for their wisdom, and then but you've kind of like elevated it to the next level where you're like, but young people add something to the conversation too. And I think that's an Asian American it's like a Asian American yes and of old traditional China values of just the old people matter, like respect your elders, young people don't, so just shut up, right? But I feel like this westernized, more evolved is a gentler way of having mutual respect for everyone of every age, because everyone brings value to the table, regardless of which dynasty you were born in. Exactly. Last joke. Okay. All right, Anita, why don't you run us through the next question? Hey, we're going to take a little break, but in the meantime, here's a shameless plug for one of our amazing sponsors.
I came to the US with nothing but $20 in my pocket and still managed to build a rental portfolio.
If you're a child of AAPI immigrants, I'm sure some version of that story sounds kind of familiar. Well, now you can do the same while still killing it at your demanding corporate job your immigrant parents probably encouraged, forced you to get through real estate syndications. Our friends at Cashflow Marketplace provided the first site that allows you to view GP profiles with established track records. Read and even leave reviews of syndicators to build trust instantly. So leave the stress behind. Passively invest in a multifamily portfolio while still enjoying passive income, steady cash flow, and tax benefits that come with real estate ownership. For more info, check out cashflowmarketplace.com. Now on to the show.
So, Tony, I kind of want to talk. I talked a bit about this during our SARE Ladies Dallas trip, but I'd love to kind of talk about your motivation and some of the what's the motivation behind everything, and what did you share during the Dallas trip?
Yeah, so I think, when I was a younger age, I was also the thing like, okay, I could do everything myself. I'm invincible. And then, I'll go run Airbnbs myself. I will run all these renovations myself, right? And then so you always want to take on a more active role and not really think about passive roles, right? And then I think there was a major event in my life that made me kind of think about what would happen, so if I wasn't around, right? So, so one thing that I actually have is, so I, some people know this, but I actually had a complete kidney failure in 2015. Okay, and this is really an autoimmune symptom. So young Asian men, be careful because your immune system sometimes just go out of whack and is too aggressive. It really thinks that, some things inside your body doesn't belong to you, and it will actively attack it, right? So it likes to attack kidneys. And so, in fact, in Japan, they actually start testing young boys at the age of 12 for this thing, where they can see that, hey, your body is trying to attack your kidney. Okay, so I have that, and in a more aggressive form, and that completely destroyed my kidneys by 2015. I was only like about just about turning 40 at the time, right? So that was pretty tough, right? You don't see a 40-year-old person, well, that was 38, 40-year-old person going to dialysis, and then I'm with all these other people who are like 70, 80 years old, right? So the thing about dialysis is, you don't stay on it forever. You probably have a lifespan about like 8 years to 10 years left. Okay, so at that time it was really sad for me because I had a young daughter. So I was like, oh my God, I will never make it to her graduation. I'll never see her get married. I'll never, see the rest of the family life, right? And one of the worst thing is, I really love my wife, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want her to leave her with all the burden, right? So during that time is when I, made up my mind that I need to find other ways of passive investment in case either if I'm not around or if I'm sick to a point where I can't work, right? We should still have some passive income coming in. Now, my wife was very, very, she's an extremely nice person, and so she actually looked for ways to help me deal with this, and so she found a way to be able to donate her kidney to me, even though we're completely blood type incompatible. Okay, so she's an AB, I'm an O. So now there's actually a technology where people of incompatible blood type can donate to each other. It's still kind of experimental, but she donated one of her kidneys to me. So I actually have more body parts than you guys do. I definitely get the feminine side of things because I have both male and female parts.
Oh, no.
No, but as a joke. But the thing is, like, no, so that was, I'm very, very thankful for this. And I also want to pass on the knowledge to people that, hey, if you have family members that could be suffering from one of these things, or heart or liver, there's solutions out there where you're not limited. This is super revolutionary. You can get help on anybody. But like I said, that really gets me to thinking that, hey, I want to make sure I'm prepared. Okay, so no matter what happens, my wife is well taken care of. My kid, well, she's 18, so she's gonna be 18 in like a couple of years. So okay, she's on her own. But I want to make sure my wife is well taken care of, even if anything happens to us, right? So. Yeah.
Such a happy ending to the story, right? Like it's wow. Yeah, it's about longevity. Yeah, go ahead and go ahead.
Yeah, I'm interested in learning about how this shaped your business and how it motivates you now. Does it change like the way that you do business and how you show up as as a Asian teenage girl dad? And then a husband that with a wife that had done so much.
Yeah, so I think this combined with my realization that if I'm able to pass on knowledge sooner, it would really help to elevate what people can do right at a young age. So not only am I training the younger generation on how to get into real estate at a larger scale, because it sounds daunting, it's really not. Okay, and then I'm also bringing my daughter along. Okay, so to like the closing events, to so when we bought this property, that was a family field trip for us. We actually went to Dallas, and then we met the brokers there, we met the property management company, we walked the buildings, and then so we kind of share the things together, right? And then that got her really interested, so she started attending Ashley and Joshua's meetup. So there was one in January, so she was over there, and that was hilarious because you have a group of like 20 somethings all talking about real estate, thinking that yes, we're awesome, we got an early start. And then in walks a 17-year-old, and they go like, oh my God, so much peer pressure. They're starting earlier now. Look at that. It's like 16, 17-year-olds starting real estate. I'm so behind.
She technically now she's a Nepo baby because you've got Link Multifamily. Her dad set her up for success.
No, and then so it was actually pretty interesting because they start chatting with her, and then it's like, oh, what do you do? I invest in multifamily. Really? It's like, yeah, at the age of 14, I already invested $100 in my dad's deal, and I got $240 back. Wow. So she's actually like, she's like, oh, people are like, oh my God, wow, I feel so behind. But but it was a great way because I think I want to. It's not just a male dominant sport. It really isn't. It is. Once you get to know the people, everybody's very supportive. The brokers, they're more than happy to work with anybody. Okay. So as long as you have the experience, as long as there's somebody there to kind of open the doors for you and kind of let you in, yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, I think you guys mentioned that it kind of feels daunting a little bit because it feels like all the brokers were male and that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, from what I see, some of the best indicators that is getting a lot of deals is actually females, right? For example, like my partner in Dallas, the one that bought 72 single-family homes, it's a lady from Hong Kong, and she is the one that I think she has acquired 13 properties so far, 13 apartment properties. So I think it's more open than you think. It's really getting yourself out there, get used to socializing, so that was what I was trying to do with my daughter, get her to come out, see the big world, learn to socialize with people, learn to talk the lingo, and then once you kind of learn the lingo and stuff, things go so much easier.
For those of you guys that don't know, Tony Lin's a business partner, the female business partner that he's talking about. She's actually the landlady from Kung Fu Hustle from Hong Kong.
I know that would be pretty awesome.
No, that's
Fix your
another
process.
corny joke.
She'll literally kick you out.
Wait, she would. So yeah, they're so aggressive. So my family's from Hong Kong, right? And they say Cantonese women are very shrewd and aggressive, and I believe it. They make great. That's why they make great syndicators, right, Anita?
Yeah, it's true. I definitely hear you when you're like, like it's like ingrained in the culture. I mean, I'm so glad that your daughter is sort of exposed to this so early, and I also kind of, I mean, I got exposed to it kind of early too. I kind of feel like, I don't know. I think there's something in Asian culture be like, you need to own property to have any sort of power. You need to invest in real estate. Like that is sort of like what Asian people need to do in order to have any sort of say in foreign countries that they were transported to, or they had to build a new life in. And so, I mean, I was taught pretty early on to be like, you need to put your money into real estate, and that's kind of like that's kind of how I was taught. And I think like the new generation is dealing with like, how do I make it my way, right? It's like, all right, I'm 17, I'm 18 right now, but I still have so much ahead, to look forward to. I have so many new tools. I got to think about scaling, and I got to do it my way. And I think that's maybe like one of the things that I'm interested in learning about is like, my parents kind of had their own way of doing things. They were the type that, like, perhaps like you, like, wanted to do everything myself. Like, I gotta get in there and be the person nailing the nails to the wall. Like, gotta be that person to save every nickel and dime. But I think like this new generations are like, no, like I gotta scale. I gotta be also an influencer. I also have to be like, I have to be all these things simultaneous in one. And so I think that's an interesting way that I've been seeing how I think that people have been evolving in real estate as they age,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
but but I do agree. Like, mentorship is, it doesn't matter. Like, mentorship is the name of the game, right? It's having someone to show you the ropes, willing to introduce you, to throw their name in there for you, and I think that's like no matter how old you are, I think that's probably how you probably have to get in, because it's such a close knit community that does the same kind of real estate, right? So
one thing I kind of want to add there is the main thing is, yes, well, due to maybe some age, you haven't looked at as many deals as somebody who's 40s or 50s, right? So I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about taking shortcuts. So if you're able to find somebody experienced in the field and learn from them on what to watch out for, because I think right now when you're evaluating deals, okay. I was just sharing with my student that one deal we underwrote that is we kind of expect 13% return is now bought by another group that I know, and they're presenting it like a 21% return. Okay, so why is there such a large discrepancy? And it's usually because they need funding really badly, so they have to inflate the numbers, right? But as a syndicator, we want to project as low as a number as possible, because it's a reputation. We want to always over deliver, right? Always. So you want to project a number as low as possible and still get funded. Okay.
And it's not a little
Anita
bit
all the time. You like, go ahead, Anita. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Like, it feels like something that's part of my culture. It's like, you don't want to, like, it's it's like an Asian. Don't brag about yourself too much. When your kids are there, you spit on them, you call them fat, and then you have other people tell you how good they are. Do you think that's part of being Asian, or that's truly how you think that you need to operate as syndicators, or is that just your cultural upbringing?
I'm gonna jump in. I think, because I reacted to that too. All right, so that's Anita's like, hey, she thinks it's Asian. I think it's your engineering background. It's engineering 101. You give low numbers so that you can over deliver, and they tell you that all the time when you do engineering presentations. It's under project, over deliver, and you look like a hero at the end of it, right? So which one is it, Tony? Is it your Asian background or your engineering background that has informed this conservative approach?
I think Tiffany has a good point. And it's
Yeah.
it's part of being corporate as well, because you do look really bad when you promise a timeline and you don't deliver. So for me, it's also about being, I think it's also about being Asian in, like, I want to meet my expectation every single time. I want to be this good boy that's always delivering, right? However, then, in a way that does kind of limit your ability to raise capital, etc., right? Because people go like, oh, okay, well, this one says 13% return. This one says 21% return. I'm going to go with the 21%, right? But at least I can sleep at night. So I think 21% is achievable if the stars are aligned, if you don't make a single mistake in the operations, there's no surprises from the market, then yes, it's possible. But I'd rather project lower and and still have room to recover from mistakes, right? And they will always happen, right? So, and I can sleep at night, right? And I'm very lucky to have a group of people that will actually, who rather have me give the real numbers. Like, I think nowadays a real number for a return on a multifamily is usually about 13 to 15%. That will be the realistic number. Okay. I feel I can comfortably hit that, right? But if I can't, then I literally took on a project that's more stress for me. That's how people go bald, and that's how. So my group of investors have gone through a lot of these recessions. They've seen everything, and then that's why they know they rather go with a group that really knows what they're doing, and they're not putting up fluff numbers. Okay, so for me, when I look at other people's deals, I don't mind that they're putting 21%. I know it's BS, right? So, but I'll discount it. So if I look at a 21% deal, I look at it and I look at the numbers. I'm like, okay, this realistically is like a 13% deal, or this realistic is a 14% deal. Now, is this deal still good for me if it's at 14%? If it is, I'll still invest, but I'm not gonna pay attention to that number. But the risk that I understand is that syndicator is going to be under so much pressure to hit those numbers that he's going to start to take shortcuts, that he's going to start to do risky things. He's supposed to repair this, but in order to show the numbers, he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to defer that maintenance. I'm not going to actually fix it. Oh, the boiler went out. Oh, well, it's only running at half capacity. Okay, well, let's just keep going, which might end up in bigger disasters, right? So, yeah, I'd rather be conservative and not be forced to do those things.
That's an interesting point, because the people who would inflate those numbers, right? And it's BS. It's like not that they're business people under the bus, but that's kind of like, that's a businessy thing to do. Just show attractive numbers to get that business outcome that you want, which is to get more fundraising. But now you're under a lot of pressure, right, to perform. And I think, where was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. I won't ramble here, but no. Okay. So yeah, that's the business person approach, right? Is to inflate the numbers. I love that you have this engineering approach that is based on real data, right? You have to look at the numbers. The numbers will tell a true story. And it's a matter of like, hey, here's a preface. This 21% may be achievable, with the footnote that a lot of things need to go right for you to hit that 21%. But real life, 13% is what's going to happen. And I love, it goes back to that engineering background of like, you prepare for the worst, right? And you look for every worst case scenario, and then you create a solution for it in case you run into that. So I would say, and this is Tiffany's note, when vetting syndicators, if they have an engineering background, I feel like that holds more weight than someone who has a strictly business background, because of that virtue.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when I give a projection, doesn't mean that's an actual number, right? So, for example, the deal that we went full cycle on, my original projection on that one was 13% return a year, and we're going to be able to sell the property in 6 years. We ended up selling that property in a little over 3 years, and then we average about like 42% return a year, right? So a low projection is just me being conservative, but it's I'm pretty sure I can do better than that. Okay, so it's not where it's gonna end up. But in anything business, it might be higher, it might be lower, but the chance of my projection being lower is not very likely. It's much more likely that I'll exceed it, right? So, and that's what I'm comfortable with giving out.
Love it.
Well, you heard it here. Take it with a grain of salt, or make sure that you have, you build in your own backup plan within the plan. Yeah. So for the sake of time, I think we're kind of running a little bit over, but thank you so much, Tony, for being on here and for keeping it real. So for our listeners who want to find you, how can they?
I think best way is, if you have Facebook, go ahead and join SARE. You can find me through SARE, or you can join me through my meetups where we bring in lenders and all this kind of stuff. Or you can just email me directly. My email is tony@linkmultifamily.com.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being on the pod.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for doing this. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Here's one last note from our lovely sponsors.
Hey, SARE ladies, listeners, Tony the CPA dude here, also your resident SARE tax bro. And with your lovely host, they came up with some great ideas. So Miss Tiffany and Miss Anita here came up with the tax workout plan. So we're gonna help you get cut up on your taxes, also gonna help you cut up on your own body. So just like working out, taxes is a monthly thing. You can't ignore it, otherwise you're gonna fall off the cliff. So with the code SARE ladies, we're gonna give you a nice healthy discount, and we're also gonna give the SARE ladies a kickback just to help support their podcast. I've had a fun time being on their podcast a couple times this year. They've done great. I really wanna see them blow up in 2023. So with your support, with this creative tax workout plan and also a workout plan in general, we're gonna help you transform your life in 2023. So mention the code SARE ladies when you talk to me. You can email me at tony@thecpadude, text me at 928CPA-dude, TikTok's the CPA Dude, website's thecpadude.com, everything's the CPA Dude. So SARE ladies is your special code here, and let's make this year great.
Thank you for tuning in to the SARE Ladies podcast hosted by Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee. Special thanks to Subtle Asian Real Estate, LLC, our parent company.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review or follow SARE Ladies on Spotify and Instagram @Subtle Real Estate. You can also click on our show notes to subscribe to our newsletters to stay on top of our news and upcoming events. Until next time, Pod Squatters.